Welcome back here to the Mountain Morning Show. I'm very excited to feature our next entrepreneur. His name is Ryan White, and he is quite the PR and social media expert. He founded a company called Social Revelation, which is really ahead of its time in terms of social media marketing. And here to talk about that and that whole process is Ryan himself. Ryan, how are you doing, man? Thank you so much.
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. So let's talk about how you got into social media marketing in the first place. You really entered the industry kind of not at its inception, but at its growth, I guess you could say. Maybe when it's moving from its adolescence to its teenager phase. There was a ton of growth happening at this time. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I got in early 2017. I was a private baseball instructor at the time, and I was kind of over the social media marketing for this company called 5-Star National. And so naturally, as I was kind of working through the process and getting some good results for them, I figured, you know, if I'm able to get this much traction for this company, why can't I go and do this for myself? And so I really started kind of focusing early 2017 on just building my personal brand. And so it was a lot of trial and error, just really trying to learn from people who are already kind of sitting in the seat that I want to sit in. And so it was through that process of about 6 months where I was able to acquire a growth rate of where I had about 10,000 new followers per month who were coming and following my Instagram profile. So yeah.
That is a ton of growth. And right now you have curated a personal online network that has around 500,000 people. That is quite a bit. How did you get from kind of a small organic growth to just a boom into 500,000 people following your curated network?
Right. So I think for me, it was about really kind of honing in on who my target audience was. So at the time, I was a baseball instructor, right? So I was pushing out a lot of baseball-specific content. And so for me, it was like first identifying where are those people at who would be interested in the type of content, you know, I'm putting out. So, you know, the Bryce Harpers of the world, Mike Trout, Major League Baseball, so at MLB. I knew that if I basically spent my time engaging with the audience base who followed those brands, I knew those people kind of were already pre-targeted in the sense that they had an interest in baseball. So if I could just grab their attention and kind of bring that traffic flow back to my own page, I knew they would resonate with the content I was putting out and there would be an instant connection there. And so it was through that process where it just kind of it clicked for me, man, and we started growing just at rapid rate, and then we got a lot of attention from that.
That's great. So all you really had to do was just sink the hook and reel them in then after that, at that point, which is pretty great. Let's talk about some of those early lessons that you learned, though, because the thing with social media networking, it is a lot of just learning from failures, right? And trying new methods and being creative and thinking out of the box about ways that you can reach people. What were some of the big early lessons that you learned when starting this brand?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I mean, anything you do, you know, you got to understand in entrepreneurship, no matter what you do, you're always going to kind of have that trial and error phase. Not everything you do is always going to be a win. And so for me, you got to understand, I didn't get a whole lot of traction probably the first month or two that I started this. It wasn't like the very first day that I started going out and actually putting in massive action behind this that I was getting 10,000 new followers per month. That was not the case. I remember at one point, you know, I was about a month in, and it didn't come as easy for the personal brand as it did for the company that I was actually working for. And so I kind of had those moments of doubt, right? Where I'm like, okay, you know, am I putting out content that people want to engage with? Am I someone that could be, you know, the face of a big time company or a brand? And so, you know, you go through those doubts, but the biggest thing is, you know, there's a saying in entrepreneurship, you know, you could basically be broke for 4 years in entrepreneurship, but then you're a 5-year multimillionaire. And so I think it's just, you have to be relentless and you have to stay persistent in whatever your end goal may be.
That's the big thing about being an entrepreneur, is not letting those failures block you, but actually just learning from them and seeing how can I adapt my strategy, my business model to overcome this failure or this roadblock, whatever it may be. So that's very important there. And from this, you've kind of moved on to really helping people who are big earners, top of their industry, whatever they are, to establish their brand in their own realm. Talk about how you have services that you apply there as well.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we do with Social Revelation marketing is, you know, we help people get more eyeballs. Okay, so you could have the best product or service in the world, but if you don't have enough eyeballs on what it is that you're presenting, you're never going to make a ton of money, right? So we basically go out and we help business and personal brands just basically increase that digital footprint and brand awareness online. And then we leverage social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook to go and make this happen. So for instance, you know, if you're a blogger and you want, you know, or you vlog, or you know, is the new term,
Yeah,
vlogging. We basically, you could partner with a company like mine, Social Revelation, and we could help you get those eyeballs in order to transform that personal brand or your message into an actual money-making machine.
And that's something that's huge here, not only in Park City, but in Utah in general right now, is kind of the vlogging, blogging, kind of the side hustle, I guess you could say, kind of making that online presence, whether it's creating a product or whether it's just being an online presence selling products. I think the first barrier for them is that hurdle of getting past, you know, the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 follower mark and really making a brand for themselves and establishing a brand that people can recognize. And that's exactly what you guys are experts in, is establishing that and making that brand for them. What are some of the tips that you have for people that are just getting into the social media game? I know it can be very difficult at this point because there are so many different strategies and companies out there pushing their different methods. But what can you do as an individual to kind of grow your brand and kind of establish yourself as a social media influencer?
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing, the first step in all of this is I tell people, get real clear cut on who it is that you want to be. What message do you want to portray to the world? Like, how do you want to be perceived, basically? Because social media and PR are very similar in the sense that you can pretty much control the image that you're putting out and how people see you, right? Your first impression, if you will. And so the biggest thing that I see when I work with clients who are kind of, they're all over the place, right? They're sporadical. So if you're not real clear cut on what it is that you want to be doing in 5 to 10 years, it's going to be really hard for you to actually go out and put a strategy behind that in order to get you there. So the first thing is getting real clear, you know, on what it is and how you want to be perceived. Once we've done that, again, it's basically going out and putting a strategy. So for instance, you know, 0 to 10,000 followers is one of the hardest things that you'll do. There's a very huge learning curve there. So by partnering with someone like us, we can really scale you to 10,000 followers very, very quickly and cut that learning curve in half. And then you just think of the snowball effect. You know, once you get to 10K, going from 10K to 20K is a lot easier because now you have digital proof. So every lead that comes to your page now is like, oh, who is this blogger who has 10,000 followers?
They have 10,000 followers already.
Right. You know, obviously they're putting out valuable content. I think I should follow this individual.
That's excellent.
And that's what happens.
That's excellent. Well, Ryan, there's some great tips there. But I got to say, for every entrepreneur that I've ever met, their eyes are never set on just one thing. You got to be looking big picture. So what's next for you, man? What's the next big project for you?
So the PR firm I'm with right now, they want me to kind of step into a little bit more of public speaking. I've been approached a few times here in the past, but I've been so focused in the last 18 months on really just scaling the company that I've kind of just pushed that to the side. So now I'm getting more into consulting calls, and then moving into late 2019, we're actually lining up some public speaking gigs.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on all your success. And where can people go to follow you as a person and as well as all of your businesses as well?
Yeah, for sure. So my personal website is just officialryanwhite.com, and then of course the easiest way to connect with me is on Instagram, and that's just @RyanWhite.
Excellent. Ryan, thank you so much. Very much appreciated for you coming in and spending time with us here in Park City. Be sure and check out his business, Social Revelation. If you are a social media influencer, if you're a vlogger, blogger, you're going to want to get connected because they're going to take your brand to the very next level. We'll be right back with much more right here on the Mountain Morning Show. Don't go anywhere.